A very good morning to all of you. Welcome back to the channel. So let's start with the 18th of July analysis session. So starting with the important topic, so have we see the Delhi dispute. So Supreme Court may send case to the Constitution bench. So Solicitor General asked the court to wait for the legislative decision, and then CJ says that the cardinal issue it will be whether key Delhi ordinance it amounted to an amendment to the Constitution by another route or not. So basically, a pura issue it is being said or being thought about कि ये constitution bench को refer कर दिया जाना चाहिए. So consent over the Delhi rule. So key points that Delhi government and center they raised in the Supreme Court. So Delhi ने क्या important points raise किए, center ने क्या important points raise किए. So this is obviously regarding the tussle that is going on between the two. So Delhi says कि जो ordinance है that has amended the constitution through ordinance route. And it says that Delhi government's power over the state public services under the entry 41 that is in the state list that has been taken away by this ordinance. And apart from this, the permanent National Capital Civil Service Authority renders the chief minister a minority voice in the governance of Delhi. And जो point center ने raise किए that includes the ordinance it will be tabled in the parliament during the monsoon session. So court should wait, मतलब you need to first wait कि legislature का क्या final decision रहेगा regarding that ordinance whether मतलब क्या वो law में convert हो पाएगा या नहीं, then accordingly the judiciary needs to intervene. Next, second point is कि parliament it has overriding powers to make the laws even on the subjects regarding which the Legislative Assembly of Delhi would be competent to enact the laws. So center का ये मानना है कि parliament के पास overriding powers है. And third is कि post the May 11 Supreme Court का जो verdict था that was in favor of the Delhi government, verdict where the chief minister and his ministers they went on a rampage, started a witch hunt against the officers necessitating this ordinance. So इसलिए the center has given its reason कि why they came out with an ordinance after the Supreme Court verdict. Then Russia, it calls the Ukraine grain deal to push its exports. So here we are seeing this is one of the impacts of this Ukraine conflict. Apart from this, you need to have a broader understanding of this whole issue. And I raised all the relevant point in the questions that you need to know about in the yesterday's video. So Niti Aayog report says that 13.5 crore people have been lifted out of the multi-dimensional poverty. So firstly, you need to be clear with this idea of what do you mean by multi-dimensional poverty? What are the important committees that have been formed in India? What is basically the model or what is the approach when it comes to calculation of poverty level in India? So these are some basic things. Here we are seeing basically 13.5 crore people, they have been lifted out of multi-dimensional poverty. So this chart, it shows the top 5 states with the highest share of population with the multi-dimensional poverty. So it is highest in Bihar, followed by Jharkhand, Meghalaya, UP, and Madhya Pradesh. So that's there. And so we have this National Multi-Dimensional Poverty Index that is constituted by Niti Aayog. And we know about the outcome, what has been the performance. So it has been assessed by identifying the acute deprivations in health, education, and standard of living using the United Nations approved parameters. So multidimensional poverty, it is not just, the conventional idea of poverty is we often relate it to how much money you are earning. So that is the basic idea of poverty. But in terms of multidimensional poverty, we take into account various sectors like what is basically your access to healthcare services, what the quality of services you are having access to. Likewise, it follows for the education sector, then the quality or the nutritious food that you are having, how much you are spending on consumption expenditure. So all of that is included and it's a part of this index. So with the floods in Delhi, another concern is the rise of the dengue cases. So you need to obviously take all these things into account when you're talking about the relief measures in the current situation. So you need to take into account the hygiene facilities and ensure that the basic health services they are available to the people in the relief camps. Then cloudburst in Himachal's Kullu, we see there are different challenges for the hilly regions, for the hilly states. And when we talk about the flash floods, landslides, and here we're seeing cloudburst in Himachal Pradesh, and we are seeing these spread across different states as well. So accordingly, we need to have proper plan in order to deal with this situation. So disaster management, an important topic from GS3. It's very important. Moving forward. Coming to editorial page. So this article is talking about the common civil code spelling equality for every Indian. So ये हमने बात करी है कि it is not just about having uniformity for everyone. It's about equality. So the 22nd Law Commission, firstly आपको पता होना चाहिए कि उन्होंने क्या recommend किया है. So it is called for responses to a proposal for this UCC, and it has set up a debate which is often been acrimonious. So the debate itself, it is much needed as Indians, they have never been consulted on the personal laws that are governed by. So public opinion, definitely that also needs to be taken into account. And so there needs to be a universal civil code which is applicable to all irrespective of the faith, gender and sexual orientation. So क्या इसके benefits हो सकते हैं? And why we are seeing कि few sections of the society, why are they opposing to it? कि why do basically don't want this to become a reality? What are their concerns? And what needs to be this whole idea about UCC? So rupee dirham settlement system, recently we finalized this thing. So this topic is important from the perspective of de-dollarization or internationalization of rupee. What are going to be the benefits of this? So these are some of the things that needs to be known. You need to know कि in the past क्या इंडिया ने ऐसा कोई इनिशिएटिव क्या पहले लिया है, क्या पहले ऐसा कोई सिस्टम एग्जिस्ट करता था, एंड उसके अलावा कि are there any concerns related to the system कि मतलब इसके कुछ definitely negatives भी हो सकते हैं. So what can be those points or those areas? Then we have discussed a lot about the digital personal data protection bill. इसके क्या we are expecting कि क्या provisions हो सकते हैं, क्या concerns है specifically related to RTI Act. And in the proposed digital personal data protection bill, the plan to amend Section 8 in the RTI Act, it will greatly weaken the Indian citizens' right to information. That is our fundamental right. So this is one of the major concerns related to this draft. And once it is tabled, the information is public, we'll be able to have much more rational discussion, I can say. So the bigger problem for smaller states is their heavy reliance on the union government. So obviously it would be having some risk also for these smaller states in terms of the economy, because they're dependent upon or their over reliance on the union government, be it for the financial aid or the grants, we can say. So small states, they must prioritize raising their own revenue so as to reduce their vulnerabilities in the future. So autonomy, be it financial autonomy, that's very important, or the political autonomy in some sense, that is important for the healthy functioning, or we can say the effective functioning of the governance system in a state. So talking about cheetahs, how are they faring in India? So recently we saw that 5 cheetahs have already died, the ones that were translocated to India. So why is India's cheetah relocation program the most ambitious of its kind? How many cheetahs they have died? We know that 5 have died so far. How many cheetahs being acclimatized to the Indian conditions, and are there plans to build more cheetah enclosures and reserves in India or not? So basically, the success of this operation would be very important even for the future operations, for future projects on similar lines. And the current challenges, how we can perform better, that can be thought about. And why we need, definitely we need to do periodic medical reviews in order to know about the latest developments. How basically, again, the cheetahs, they are, acclimatizing to the Indian climate, to the Indian habitats. Then how successful has this project Cheetah been so far? So in September this year, it will be 1 year since a batch of the 8 cheetahs from Namibia, they arrived in India, and they were followed by 12 more from South Africa. So while conceived as an experiment that is susceptible to failure also in the initial years, independent critics, they have argued that there are some basic flaws in this project right now. So for one, it is a mistake to have had all the 20 cheetahs in one national park, that is in Pune National Park in Madhya Pradesh. So that is, they feel, is one of the mistakes that we did, that we kept all the cheetahs that were translocated, that were brought into India, in just one national park, because then it caused too little space for them. And given that the animal, it's a cursor and it needs large distances, so that was basically one mistake according to them. Then secondly, having cheetahs for extended periods in quarantine, that has also affected their adaptive capabilities and caused them to have psychological adjustment problems, making them more vulnerable. This is the second thing which they feel, that their basically quarantine period shouldn't have been so long. And unlike tigers and leopards, cheetahs, they are relatively delicate animals, and they are more likely to be fatally injured in the wild as well. So currently, Indian cheetahs, they face no competition from other comparable predators like lions and leopards. So it remains to be seen that if these animals, they can successfully establish themselves in India over time or not. But officials, they say that there is enough space and prey in the Kuno Reserve, and there are plans to develop a second reserve also in Gandhi Sagar, Madhya Pradesh, and also establish cheetah rehabilitation center going forward. So these are the future plans. Then the stream of consciousness technique in the modern literature, origin and impact. You can go through it if you find it a little interesting. Otherwise, in the context of the examination, this is not so important for us. So US has handed over around 105 antiquities to India following an agreement. So countries, they had agreed to work towards preventing the illegal trafficking in the cultural artifacts during a prime minister's visit to US last month. So these artifacts, they belong from across India, and we see that they span from a period of around 2nd to 3rd century CE to 18th to 19th century CE. And they're made of terracotta, stone, metals, and wood. And they definitely hold religious significance as well. Then we have also discussed a lot about internet restoration. Kya complete internet ban karna is the right thing or not? Kya partial ban karna chahiye? And Supreme Court ka kya kehna hai is pe, we've already discussed. So right now in the state of Manipur, we see ki because of obviously the ethnic violence, the internet has been debarred and it has been barred the internet services. And Supreme Court ne bola hai ki Manipur government ko first you have to approach to the High Court, and then only you can approach to Supreme Court for internet restoration. So we are going to have a new drone policy very soon with some restrictions. So we'll be having a look at that once again. That is available with us. So Rupee Dhiram deal is bilateral. UAE ambassador to India says that the agreement it will significantly ease the path of the tradeway by lowering the transaction cost and making it easier to convert the currency also. So basically we can say efficiency is going to increase, and adding that the idea it is to have the right mechanism and options in place for exporters and importers. So that is the latest development. Again, I've already started and like I've already mentioned this in the beginning about de-dollarization and what are the things that you need to know about. So DRDO's propulsion system in focus as India expects 3 more Scorpions, that is submarines we're talking about. So as India begins the negotiations with France for the 3 more Scorpions, the naval group, the French co-developer of these submarines has already invested over 100 crore rupees in 3 workshops with tools and infrastructure for important tasks. So it would be facilitating more technology transfer, employment generation in India. Coming to the world page, so here, so Solomon Islands Prime Minister hits back at criticism of relations with China. So you need to know about firstly the location of Solomon Islands, and basically China and the Solomon Islands, they are trying to increase their cooperation. So that is obviously a part of China's policy or the ambition of increasing its influence in the Indo-Pacific region. So Russia exits the UN broker deal to export the Ukrainian grain via the Black Sea. So this would be basically disrupting the supply in the international market, and that can again increase the prices as well. So Kremlin's decision, it came hours after the drones, they struck the sole road link which connects Russia to Crimean Peninsula, and President Putin calls it a terrorist action and vows retaliatory measures. Then we've talked about heat waves in Europe or in the developed countries, and then rising incidences of wildfires, forest fires. So heat wave, it bakes southern Europe, sparking warnings to citizens to stay inside, drink water, and limit the exercises. So how basically people they would be adapting to these new climatic conditions, and again we need to take some measures to mitigate these impacts as well. So the two things is adaptation and mitigation. On the business page, we see RBI to detail the standard operating procedure for the banks to help expedite rupee trade. So even banks, they would be, informed about how they can go ahead with this. So RBI is going to play an important role over here. So banks, they need to follow the detailed protocol while issuing proofs of inward remittances for the exporters. Transactions, they have started happening under the rupee trading mechanism. So apart from जो भी bilaterally deals चल रही हैं, here the banks, they are also going to play an important role in internationalization of rupee. So fostering the rupee trade. So we'll be having SOP for this. And exporters, they had approached the Commerce Ministry citing the delays in generating EBRC certificates for them. And so India and US, they're working to make the investment easier for energy transition. So this is one of the areas where the two countries will be cooperating, because obviously energy transition, we talk about green energy transition. And at the same time, when we are talking about the green energy transition, one thing is we are shifting from conventional energy sources to renewable energy, but then at the same time it's important for us to take into account or to ensure that we have energy security as well during this transition exercise. So that is equally important. Now coming to Financial Express. So big jump in the ECBs, it signals that there is revival of the private capital expenditure spendings. So ECB is the external commercial borrowings. So we are seeing a rise in that. So this is basically an indicator कि जो private sector का capital expenditure है, the spending that is also increasing. And again, this is somewhere connected to investment also. So obviously that is good for an economy and its growth. So India must grow GDP at 7.6% for the 25 years to become developed. According to RBI paper, we'll be looking into this thing going forward. And currency in circulation deaccelerates to 4.4%. So जब circulation कम हो जाता है तो उसके क्या implications होते हैं? Again, that is an important topic from economy. So India is an agent of change. With the UN becoming unwieldy and non-functional, we are seeing the G20 has emerged as the most responsive body to address the key challenges facing the world in New Delhi. It has not shied away from bringing all major global issues at the center stage during the presidency. So regulations की जब बात करते हैं about cryptocurrency, they must align with the risks also. So मतलब जो भी risk associated है with the usage of cryptocurrencies or investment in the cryptocurrencies, accordingly regulations भी उसी तरीके से होने चाहिए. Then only we can say कि ultimately we'll be getting the desired results. So why do we need a global framework in order to regulate cryptos? So panel suggests that regulatory authorities, they should have adequate power to regulate, supervise and oversee the crypto asset activities. And like many countries, India don't have a regulatory regime for cryptos, despite these being covered under the tax net. So this was one of the new or major developments when we talk about the tax imposition on the cryptos. But right now, for dedicated body or even when we talk about RBI, so they're not, into regulating cryptos as of now. So ahead of the debate in the global coordination on the regulation of cryptos by G20, the group's watchdog, that is the Financial Stability Board, it recommended the regulatory authorities, they should have adequate powers. And all of this is seen. So basically framework, it is based on principle of same activity, same risk and same regulation. Then again, you need to know about ki actually concerns kya hai when we see ki even in the cyber attacks, we see ki ransom is demanded in crypto. So there we are seeing it is one concern area for all of us. And apart from this, how people they end up losing crores of rupees without basically the knowledge or the awareness about investing in the crypto. So they just look at making high monetary profits, but again, investments without complete knowledge or with half knowledge is very dangerous. So these are some of the areas which needs to be addressed. And then what are the risks associated with the financial stability of an economy also when it comes to the usage of cryptos? So India and US, they formally end the dispute at WTO. So first, let's understand what was the dispute all about. So India and US, they have notified WTO that both the countries have reached a mutually agreed solution to a dispute that involved New Delhi putting additional duties on some of the products from the US to retaliate against the extra duties its steel and aluminium products faced. And ये पूरा issue था between both the countries. They've mutually decided and resolved it. So WTO की जो dispute settling body है उससे related भी कुछ issues चल रहे हैं. You need to know about that. And of the 6 disputes, 3 were initiated by India and 3 by US. This we've seen, and Janet Yellen says that we look forward to working with India on an investment platform to deliver a lower cost of capital and increased private investment to speed India's energy transition. Coming to Indian Express, so यहाँ पे we'll just take up the topics that we haven't discussed so far. So deadline missed, 23 states and UTs, they lose 1.44 lakh Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana units to UP. So firstly, आपको basic provisions पता होने चाहिए about this scheme. So it aims to provide pakka houses with minimum area of 25 square meters in rural areas. So each beneficiary gets up to rupees 1.2 lakh in the plains and rupees 75,000 to rupees 1.3 lakh in the hilly states, the difficult areas. So the spending ratio is split into 40 to 60 is to 40 ratio. So training has been completed. Delhi police is going to deploy its first 19 markswomen. So what is the idea behind this? Let's understand that. So these, you can see in the picture, these are the commandos who have completed a 4-week specialized training at ITBP Center in Karera, Madhya Pradesh. So among the many layers of security for the G20 summit later this year, it will be 19 markswomen of the Delhi police who have just completed a 4-week specialized training. And so all commandos with its special weapons and tactics unit for the marksman course been done. Decision was taken by the Delhi Police Commissioner when he visited the SWAT unit a few months ago. So, a Union Finance Minister says that the global economic growth remains uneven and we need a coordinated effort. But again, each country is suffering from different economic challenges. So, accordingly, the coordination needs to be on similar lines going forward. And World Bank chief says that more optimistic about India now than in a long time. So definitely, all eyes are on Indian economy, its performance, how we are basically dealing with challenges. And definitely, one of the most important things is the resilience of the Indian economy, which is helping us going forward stronger with the same momentum. So this is an important topic from the perspective of global mapping. So you need to know about key Tuzla Islands kahan located hai, and Sea of Azov, Black Sea, different straits like Kerch Strait, Bosphorus Straits kahan located hai, kaun si water bodies ko connect karte hain. All of that is important because this year in prelims we had a question ki which all countries are basically bordering Ukraine. So that was a very expected question. And likewise, ये region news में बहुत ज़्यादा है, so you need to be completely aware about important geography of this region. Then coming to UCC again, the Hindu Undivided Family and UCC. So Hindu Undivided Family, it's a legal entity that allows the Hindu taxpayers to claim certain tax benefits. And if we have UCC that is considered, so this beneficial tax treatment is likely to face scrutiny. So UCC का क्या बेसिकली इम्पैक्ट हो सकता है, क्या कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस हो सकते हैं, किन और बाकी सारी एरियाज में विल बी नीडिंग द अमेंडमेंट्स. सो ये सारी चीजें भी हो जाएंगी. सो इट इज नॉट एज नो सो सिंपल एज इट अपीयर्स टू बी. सो बहुत सारी चीजें हमें साथ में लेके चलनी पड़ेगी, चेंजेस एंड अमेंडमेंट्स करने पड़ेंगे. So genesis and structure की बात करें तो existence of the HUF as a legal entity is based on an acknowledgement of the customs by the Raj in India. So it was seen as an institution that operated on a strong sense of blood ties and kinship to jointly exercise control over property in the Hindu families, and led to the business arrangements based on Hindu personal laws rather than contractual arrangements. Then income tax purposes का यहाँ mention किया गया है. So मतलब complete details बताई गई हैं. As far as I can understand is कि मतलब इतना analysis वाली चीजें highlighted नहीं है. Different provisions mention किए गए हैं, sections mention किए गए हैं, and how they are basically applicable to the Hindu undivided families that has been shown up. So BIMSTEC grouping की बात करें, firstly this is very important topic, very important body, given कि we are seeing SARC is unfunctional right now. And in this year, basically 2022 means there was a question also on BIMSTEC कि you have to compare. Do you think कि BIMSTEC and SARC are they parallel or not? दोनों में क्या similarities है, क्या dissimilarities हैं, and how India is basically furthering or trying to fulfill its foreign policy objectives as far as BIMSTEC is concerned. So how through BIMSTEC we are trying to fulfill our foreign policy objectives. So this is basically question पूछा जा चुका है already. So जो बाकी areas आपको लगते हैं if not been covered या important है, तो वो आपको पता होना चाहिए. So चाइना को basically tackle करने के लिए definitely BIMSTEC बहुत important role play कर सकता है. The growing assertiveness of China in Indo-Pacific region, यहाँ पे establishment की basically prelims के लिए भी this is very important topic. So जो basic facts है, 1997 में it was established as a regional organization with the signing of the Bangkok Declaration. So initially it was not known as BIMSTEC, it was known as BISTEC. So which was Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, Thailand Economic Cooperation. Now it is called BIMSTEC and it has 7 members. So Myanmar joined it in 1997, Bhutan and Nepal in 2004. So membership के बारे में आपको पता होना चाहिए, क्या initiatives already लिए जा चुके हैं under BIMSTEC. That's also important. And definitely it is focusing upon areas like trade, technology, energy, transport, tourism. So heavily it is focusing upon connectivity also. That is also one of the important domains of it. So that is one thing. So some new norms have been issued for senior advocates, and what are the changes done? So here we see Supreme Court, it has published fresh guidelines for designation of senior advocates after a plea sought modifications of the norms. And the 2018 guidelines, they had come in the wake of a Supreme Court ruling in 2017, Indira Jaising versus Union of India case. So 2018 guidelines के बारे में बात की गई है. The guidelines that discouraged the system of voting by secret ballot, except in cases where it was unavoidable. And a committee for designation of senior advocates, it was set up, which was chaired by CGI, consisting of 2 senior-most Supreme Court judges, Attorney General of India, and a member of the bar. So abhi right now क्यों guidelines को change किया जा रहा है? So February this year we saw Center it filed an application seeking changes in the guidelines. So Center का कहना ये था कि point-based system, which awarded 40% weightage to publications, personality, and suitability it gauged through the interview, it dilutes the esteem and dignity of the honor. So Center का मानना ये कि ये change किया जाना चाहिए. So application pointed to the rampant circulation of bogus journals where people they could publish articles by paying a nominal amount. So वो article publish करना कोई इतना difficult task नहीं है. So ये कहीं ना कहीं basically it was being alleged कि esteem और जो dignity of honor है with the position वो कहीं ना कहीं dilute हो रहा है with this thing. And further, center argued कि जो requirements है that have resulted in ousting the otherwise eligible candidates based on factors like are not germane to the issue of being designated as a senior advocate. So जो serious eligible candidates हैं again they were also being ousted. And finally, the application it sought to reinstate the rule of simple majority by a secret ballot where judges they can express their views about any candidate without any embarrassment. So that's why they're demanding for a secret ballot over this thing. So what are the changes done? So new guidelines, they prescribe minimum age for the designation to be 45 years. And it can be relaxed by a committee also, but right now the age is 45. And although the 2018 में guidelines issue की गई, they say कि CJ along with any judge can recommend an advocate's name. So 2023 के जो guidelines है, they specify कि CJ along with any judge of the Supreme Court may recommend the name. And previously guidelines they set aside 15 marks for publications also, but new norms के हिसाब से the weightage or the marks have been reduced to 5. And it is also included guest lectures आपने कितने deliver किए in the law schools and professional institutions connected with law. So जो weightage है, जो weightage दी जाती है to the judgments, that has been increased from 40 to 50 points. So ये कुछ changes किए गए हैं to make it much more relevant, effective and practical. So India and France relations are very important. We have completed and we are basically planning for next 25 years में हमारे relation कैसे रहेंगे, किन areas पे हमें काम करने की ज़रूरत है in order to make the relationship much more strengthened and more strategic in nature. Then how can cooperation with France serve India's interest vis-a-vis Russia and China is concerned? So for Europe, major foreign policy challenge at the moment is the Russia-Ukraine war right now. So this is an area where India and French perceptions they differ, because within Europe, Macron faces criticism for his softer approach towards Russia and China. And as well as his remarks on Taiwan also saying that France should not get involved in a US-China escalation, and being an ally does not mean being a vassal. So many European countries, they have identified China as being simultaneously a partner and competitor and pushed for de-risking the economic relationship without decoupling from China. So ये आजकल keywords use किए जाते हैं, de-risking, decoupling from China. Europe's tough policies towards Russia and France's mixed up approach towards China will continue to pose challenges to the bilateral ties, but may also open up a new opportunity to work together. So basically, जो बाकी European countries की approach है towards Russia and China, that is a little different from what has been the approach of France. So उसी वजह से जो भी approach है उसको criticize भी किया जाता है जो France की approach रही है. And India के लिए भी थोड़ा challenging हो सकता है because right now even we are not in that good situation, or we don't share that much kind of relations or stability as far as India-China relations is concerned as of now. So यहाँ पे थोड़ा challenging हो सकता है. So bilateral trade and investment, people to people ties की बात की गई है. This is something basic, you can just go through it. And what role do the Indian and the French leaderships they have to play in development of the ties? So solid foundations for the relationship, it has been laid by 3 Indian prime ministers and 4 French presidents. And Prime Minister Modi played a historic role in finalizing the Rafale deal and forcefully articulating the Indo-Pacific narrative, so which has made a qualitative difference. And again, जब हम इंडिया फ्रांस की relations की बात करते हैं तो again 2022 में there was a question कि you have to critically analyze the procedure of election of the French president and the Indian president of India. So उसमें आपको critically analyze करना है process को of election of the presidents of these two countries. So इन dimensions पे जब आप किसी भी country या India या किसी और bilateral country के bilateral relations की बात करते हो तो ऐसे questions आपके mind में आने चाहिए when you are reading any article. And likewise, need to move forward. तो जब हम स्मार्ट सिटीज की बात करते हैं, यहाँ करंट चैलेंजेस जो हमें देखने को मिल रहे हैं, वी आर फेसिंग अप. So treat cities as public goods and not the private assets, and you need to build anew the idea of urban commons from bottom up. सो आज के टाइम में इतना ज़्यादा अर्बनाइजेशन हो रहा है, एंड जब हम ड्रेनेज सिस्टम की बात करते हैं, जो बेसिक चीज़ें हैं वी जस्ट ओवरलुक देम और दे आर इग्नोर्ड, एंड अल्टीमेटली वी सी द रिजल्ट इज फ्लडिंग एंड कॉन्क्रीटाइजेशन की वजह से वी से दी अर्बन हीट आइलैंड इफेक्ट हमें देखने को मिलता है. तो हाउ स्मार्ट सिटीज बेसिकली दे कैन अडेप्ट टू द current challenges the smart cities or the metro cities are facing right now. सो अगेन जो फूड इन्फ्लेशन हमें देखने को मिल रही है, तो जो हमारी फाइट अगेंस्ट इन्फ्लेशन है दैट इज फार फ्रॉम ओवर राइट नाउ. दिस इज स्टेटमेंट फ्रॉम आरबीआई, सो this is very well expected as well. So that's why RBI had said it before also in the last MPC meeting कि we can't basically start celebrating कि inflation is moderating. So आने वाले times में we were expecting कि inflation increase हो सकती है because of short term reasons also, but again इस चीज पे देखना कि how things are changing, how inflation is performing is very important right now. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining in today's session, and I hope things are much more clearer to you and you enjoy our analysis videos. So do subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and do hit the like button for the video.